On Wednesdays, just baseball show. Sad news, bad news. We'll get to the sad news, bad news off the top. Then James Wood. That's good news. And he's very fast and he hits the ball very hard. Futures game rosters were announced, and I've got a question for Aram about Gunnar Henderson. Jack, Aram, just baseball show. As always, it's presented by BetMGM. Before we get rolling, I want to tell you about Game Time, our friend of the show at Game Time. New friend of the show is Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. You get killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. Use them for last minute deals. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, list goes on. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code JUSTBASEBALL, all caps, one word, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code JUSTBASEBALL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Sad news, bad news. According to Craig Mish, not Ken Rosenthal. Craig Mish, the Marlins designated Tim Anderson for assignment on Tuesday afternoon. It's been a really bad stretch for TA, and I think we knew that. And that the market was slim for Tim Anderson over the offseason, and we were possibly looking at platoon roles for him, and like, oh, he's the perfect Dodger if they want a shortstop that's going to hit lefties. He wanted an everyday job. Miami came calling. And with the Miami Marlins in 65 games, TA slashed 214, 237, 226. It's a 463 OPS. Craig said, by all accounts, he was a joy to have in the clubhouse. There was not a negative thing to be said about him. It's just the play was not good enough. So the Marlins are going to eat the money and move on. This sucks. And we were talking about this after we recorded the call up, like, genuinely made me sad for Tim Anderson and for the guy that was my favorite player as of the end of the 2023 season. And I was keeping close tabs. And I know you were keeping close tabs. Just a really shitty, quick decline for one of what we saw as like the stars of Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, and you can say what you want about batting average. At least he was a guy that you could pencil in for a 300 batting average, and usually compete for the batting title every single year. It really is one of those examples of a guy I think that didn't quite know how he had it, just naturally had it, and he can't find it again. And now as you try to search for it and you're progressively becoming less athletic as you just turned 31 years old, it becomes even harder to find what you had before because you might not be able to do some of the things that you could do before. So that's where it's really tough where, I think the players that just really, he was a multi-sport athlete coming up and, a guy that I don't think like was super focused on baseball. He was a JUCO guy as well, right?
Yeah, he was a JUCO guy. I think basketball was really his first love. Like he really
Yeah.
wanted to be a basketball player, and baseball, it was the one that he was
Better.
good at. And it's the one that he
Came
got the JUCO opportunity at, and it rolled.
came naturally to him, but it's not like he had, a ton of experience in that regard. And then just really ended up making it work because he's so gifted and finding a way to make that flat swing work and be contact oriented and be athletic in the box and get away with high chase rates and stuff like that. But it just seems like it's all kind of caught up to him a little bit and just hasn't quite been able to find it. I still think he's capable. I think it's going to take a very dramatic change where like strip it down to the baseline swing wise. Like I was surprised how similar his swing looked this year to how it's looked in the past. I was expecting him to maybe show up with something totally different setup, maybe just try something new. He didn't quite do that. I know he put the work in the offseason, but didn't quite do that, and they're just the results just continue to get worse and worse. I think the defense was not that bad. He made some big errors, but overall, like he was okay there. So I hope he gets another opportunity. I'm rooting for Tim, but obviously he was one of the worst hitters in Major League Baseball, if not the worst hitter in Major League Baseball this year. And hopefully he has one last gasp here, one last shot to just strip the swing down, start from scratch, and see if you can create something new and go from there. At 31, I hope he gets another shot.
Yeah, value is tough with a guy like Tim Anderson because he's not going to walk, and like you need to hit if you're not going to walk. And 214 is going to dock the OPS dramatically. And at this point, like The power was gone. Like he was, 15 homer threat when he was at his best in Chicago. I mean, TA, what he had 20 homers in 2018. He had 18 in 2019. He had 17 in 21. And like he played 153 in 2018. That was his 20 homer season, but like played 123, had 18. Played 123 and 21, had 17. So he was always like a 15 to 20 homer threat, and that helped. And that kept the value like in the modern thinking, right? That boosted the WRC plus a little bit. That boosted the OPS a lot of it because you need to slug. It accounts for on base and slug, but the on base is going to look way too similar to the batting average to provide value in the modern game. And like, if you're not going to walk, you better hit 309 like he did in 21 and was an all-star.
Yeah.
And he just what like there's a difference between 309 and 280, and there's a huge difference between 280 and 214. And
Especially
there's
when you
like
don't slug.
especially when you
Like,
don't slug, and there's just next to no value when you don't slug and you don't walk and you're hitting 214.
yep. So the Marlins bring up a guy that in Xavier Edwards who does not really slug either, but
But he
he
walks.
he walks slightly more, and he's really leaned into the contact oriented aspect side of things. Like he's going to be one of the better bat to ball guys if he gets consistent run. I don't think he's a shortstop at all, but at this point, why not try it?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's stretched very thin there with the arm, but he can hit. You know, he's been a guy that going back to end of last year or going back to last year, I mean, well over 300, you know, in AAA and in the upper minors. So I'm glad the Marlins are going the young route here. You might as well see what you got with Xavier Edwards and finally get him some more opportunity instead of just rolling out Tim Anderson in a sub 500 OPS essentially. So I like the Marlins going younger. We'll see what Xavier Edwards can do. But it does stink to see TA just decline so rapidly.
Yeah. I just got the notification buzz on top of my OneNote that James Wiseman signed a 2-year deal with the Pacers. Do we want to spend the next 15, 20 minutes on that?
Not even 15 seconds.
Okay, James Wood made his major league debut on Monday night, and James Wood collected his first big league hit in his first big league plate appearance. It was, quick slap shot the other way at 106. I think it might have been like 106.7 or something. So let's round up. Opposite field slap shot at 107 from James Wood. And oh, by the way, later in the game, he peaked at 30.2 feet per second, home to first. That is elite speed. And that's the second guy at 6'7" that we've seen clock in at elite speed over 30 feet per second. The 6'7" position player club, I think MLB put this out. Aaron Judge, O'Neal Cruz, and James Wood. That's a pretty fun list, I'd say. But Wood absolutely looked the part in his big league debut. That was an exciting game. I think a lot of people were watching that game because for some reason we only had 3 baseball games on Monday night, which was stupid and weird. But man, I mean, he delivered in this.
And we get to see a little bit of everything. And I talked about the swing adjustments that he's made. We have a short video out on that in an article at justbaseball.com. And I thought the first hit was exactly an embodiment of what he has improved, right? Letting the ball travel, getting it out deep on the outer half and shooting it the other way, maintaining his direction well. That was impressive in itself. And then even where he didn't get credited for a hit, chops one into the ground. And this is the other thing that we said he can do. And that's what adds another layer to him is when he mishits a ball and squibs one, like he can beat him out and he can put pressure on the defense. And that's where that 30 plus feet per second sprint speed comes in. They call it an error, but he throws it or they throw it away. He gets to second easily, and then it just becomes a menace on the base paths with what he can do there too. And we saw the base stealing become more of an aspect of his game this year before the hammy issue, and coming back from it now. I think we'll see as he gets more comfortable, possibly being able to do that at the big league level. But the other thing is I think we continue to see like run grades get undervalued with some of these bigger guys. I don't know how we're doing this at some of the at some places because like I don't know if it's still like stopwatch or whatever it may be, but like we had a James Wood sprint speed in the futures game over 30 feet per second, which is elite. We've seen him be able to motor down to first base, so I'm still surprised to see this be a guy that was getting 55 run grades and even 60. Like he's a 70 runner. I think he slows down to a 60 as he matures, but he's turning in 70 run times right now, man. And like that's we've seen it though. Like I think run grades are probably the most inconsistent thing in player evaluation at this point through the minor leagues. Like so many guys, I think get undersold on the speed side of things.
And we see, guys like turn it on in spurts. Like Wood, we just saw 30 feet per second down the first base line. But I know you kind of account for stolen base acumen in the run grades, right? Like,
Sure, yeah,
is
absolutely. Like,
that
how is that converting into game speed for sure? But
and
then just on a pure straight line standpoint, like he's up there with anybody too.
yeah, I feel like there are a lot of guys that kind of clump into that just over 30 feet per second straight line speed thing. And maybe the differentiator there could be, like, how are your jumps? Like, are you gonna swipe 30 bags at the major league level? And maybe you reserve like the 70 speed for a 30 stolen base threat, but he's 20.
And usually it's home to first times, and his home to first times are elite.
Really good.
Wyatt Langford was another guy that wasn't really getting plus run grades. Look at how fast that guy's one of the fastest players in the league. J Rod was another one of those examples. So it is interesting, just something to monitor. Like I think in the way that we go about, player evaluation from the speed perspective, perhaps the stopwatch is a little archaic. I know that we can't have feet per second when we're scouting and stuff like that in the minor leagues, but it's something that's been super valuable to me is, being able to slow down video and get those times that way too. Wood has been a guy that I think that the athleticism continues to get undersold. We know that there's monster power here, but I think people were able to see, big time how athletic he is and just the upside there. Is it O'Neal Cruz athleticism? No, but he's way more polished
Yeah.
and way better of a hitter than him. And honestly, way better than Aaron Judge was at 21 years old in terms of the polish. Is he going to turn into Aaron Judge? Probably not. But just also a testament to just how good of a hitter he is and he has become too. I think is a really important point.
He's running circles around Cruz already, I think, in the batter's box. And like O'Neal, listen, he can pump balls into the Allegheny and he can hit a ball 470 feet and he can hit a ball 121 miles an hour, but those are few and far between. And like this guy was hitting about 050 on breaking balls through his first 50 games. O'Neal Cruz was. Like that's a clear deficiency that he like really didn't totally clean up. He's still running into those serious problems.
Mm-hmm.
Wood, every deficiency that he was shown in Double A last year, he attacked and like pretty much eliminated in Triple A, and that's why he was the number one prospect in baseball. No,
Yep, absolutely. I mean, he struggled as any tall, long levered guy is going to struggle in any hitter period when he gets to Double A. Secondary stuff's better. They command it better. It's harder to hit it. He upped his OPS by like 250 points against those pitches. He upped his contact rate by 10% against such pitches. And, we know that he can pulverize fastballs. So it was fun to see that. He had one at bat where it looked a little bit, welcome to the big leagues
sure.
ish, where, I think Peterson, after the hit, just kind of spun him pretty hard. And it's a tough matchup where you're getting sinker, slider, left on left. But for his debut, too, like he got nothing but lefties, I think. It was Peterson, and then Diekman. And so, I mean, what a tough matchup for your first, career big league opportunity here. And I think, he's a guy that has come a long way left on left as well. As we saw, like those at bats could have easily been a lot uglier for a guy making his big league debut against, a couple lefties that have been around, especially Diekman for a while as well. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do as he gets some better, easier matchups too, some righties mixed in there. But I think he's gonna be productive. I think pretty quickly for them, and beyond that, this is a Nationals team that we're not taking them too seriously. But
Yeah.
I'm sure internally, they want to keep looking at that wild card and they want to keep hanging around and adding a player like James Wood and remember he's replacing Eddie Rosario that makes them better. So, if you want to, it's like how I used to fantasize about the Marlins when I was 13 years old. Oh, we're only 6 games out. Like we could do something here. Like
Yeah.
if, for the young fans, I do think that it gives them a little bit more to watch from one, the developmental side, but it also says, hey, we want to win right now. And we're trying to put our best team forward here. And I really appreciate that because they could have tried to talk themselves into Rosario for another month and try to flip him at the deadline. They knew that was never going to happen. And I appreciate them finally calling Wood up and giving him the opportunity.
Yeah, well, and it was really important. I think they probably knew that Peterson was going to start for the Mets on this Monday, and that's why they sent him to AAA to really work on left-handed pitching. Like they were like, you know what, you're going to debut against a left-handed starter, and then you're going to see a left-handed reliever, and you're going to be fine, and you're going to prove us all right. And then game two, you're going to see a right-hander, and you're really going to show who you are. So I think they game planned for that. In all seriousness, I thought it was pretty freaking poetic that Mackenzie Gore started that game.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
got you've got Gore starting. Abrams is on a freaking tear, one of the best players in Major League Baseball in the month of June. And then you have Wood debut during a Gore start. And we talked about Harley and Susana on the call up as well. And Robert Hassel is having a welcomed bounce back season. Now, is he looking like the top 40 prospect in baseball that he once was, and maybe he was at time of trade? No, he's not. But like, it's a lot better this year than it was last year. Um, I thought that was a very good pitch to the Nat fan base that they didn't screw up the Juan Soto thing.
No, I mean, this is as good as it could have went. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
the best case scenario is having Juan Soto, one of the best hitters in Major League Baseball, but also who are they putting around him? And I still probably I prefer to pay Soto, but he did turn down those extensions, and I think at the time it was harder to justify because we didn't know what it was going to look like, but you know, it's just the reality of it. It may have been the right move, even if these players didn't turn out the way that they turned out, but people aren't going to want to hear it that way. When it goes well, it's a lot easier to sell that. You got your best starter right now. I mean, Mackenzie Gore is their best starter, right? Like, I don't think there's any questions about that. You got your, I don't know if he's going to be their shortstop moving forward forever. I do have some questions about Abrams' defense. He might be a little bit better off at third or second long term, or they could just hope that he continues to develop it short. Remember all the things that we said about the limited reps hitting wise. It also is valid as a defender as well. But regardless, you have one of your best young hitters, arguably, I think your best young hitter. You have your other best young hitter and the top prospect in baseball in James Wood. So
Yeah.
center field or left field and shortstop or second base pretty much taken care of for a long time. You've got a front line or at least a really good number two starter for you
Yeah.
in your rotation, which they needed that badly. And then you have Harleen Susana, who's one of our best performers of the month at the lower levels, throwing 100 miles an hour down there, just turned 20 years old. And as you mentioned, whatever you get from Robert Hassel is kind of an added bonus here. And he looks like he's someone that's going to play a role in the major leagues, whether it's a fourth outfielder or it comes together for him. He's still just 22.
Yeah.
And a guy I really liked when we had him on the call up. I do believe in the makeup, and it might take a little bit longer for him, but he's still a good player. So I don't think they could have done much better on this package. And I know that these things are fluid, but when it comes to trading for players, upside wise and proximity, I thought
Yeah.
they weighed that perfectly. Had the proximity with Abrams and Gore, and both those guys have developed really nicely. And then the upside pieces, for the most part, look like they're doing well too, especially James Wood.
So I'm not the biggest fan of watching uncompetitive baseball. Like I don't think anybody is the biggest fan of watching uncompetitive baseball. But if this isn't the poster of proving that you need to trade sometimes a franchise cornerstone if you're going nowhere, I don't know what is. And the White Sox should be looking at this like, okay, we're not going to get better if we don't trade Luis Robert and we don't trade Garrett Crochet. Like, if you really commit to tearing it down, being stuck in purgatory is the fucking worst.
Worst thing
Like,
you can do.
you cannot do that. And the way that the Nats got out of being stuck in purgatory, where they're paying Juan Soto $440 million if he said yes to that. And I saw the report that he's not going to entertain contract offers until he gets into the offseason, which like is crazy. If the Yanks want to pay you 500, just say yes, man.
But
But like,
it also it validates them even further now. I
yes,
think the
yes, it
Nationals.
does. Because there would have been no proof that he was going to stay in Washington. So that totally validates them. The other thing is like, okay, say Soto said yes to 440. You're stuck, man. Like, it's not like that Trey Scherzer deal net you anything. Josiah Gray, I watched him get bombed on his rehab assignment after he looked fine his first one. Keibert Ruiz is the barometer for average catcher play. Like, there's
Generously.
nothing going on. You need to trade transcendent talent sometimes in order to tear it all down, because tearing it all down and building it back up is how the Astros did it. Hell, it's how the Cubs did it in 2016. Every World Series winner, unless you're the Dodgers or the Yankees, has some proof that tearing it down and building it back up is the way to do it in the modern era.
Especially when you know that you can spend on top of that. Where I get sick of it is like, okay, you can't, everyone just can't be the Rays and use that as an excuse now to not spend. Oh, how are we going to compete? You got to build your baseline, like you said, and they did that. They have the foundation here. And we know that the Nationals will spend. They've historically done it. Has it always gone to plan? No, you can't blame them for the Strasburg situation. Pat Corbin, I don't
Yes.
think anybody was saying that signing sucked at the time. I don't quite remember how I felt about Corbin at that time, but I don't remember it being necessarily like, oh my gosh, what are they doing? They tried.
They
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 tried.
paid they paid a lot. They paid about 200 for a guy that was worth about 100, I think at
Okay.
the
I'm trying to remember for whatever reason. I can't remember how I felt about that one at the time. But regardless, they tried, they paid him. Like we've seen them pay guys when it makes sense. I don't necessarily think that they did anything wrong by moving off of the guys that they moved off of. They saw the farm, they saw where they're at, they realized that they're going to need a little bit of a reset. I don't love Keibert. I never have, but I applaud them extending him when they felt like he could be a long-term catcher for them. I think now you look at where you're at, you see your pieces, you see Dylan Cruz, who's going to be manning center field for you next year and be on the minimum. Bring back Lane Thomas, pay that guy. You're going to trade Jesse Winker, and that makes sense. You're going to move some of these other guys. This team can be good next year.
Mhm.
And I would almost, I don't know exactly what the situation is for Harvey and Finnegan from a just free agency perspective. I don't know when those guys hit the open market.
I think Harvey's up after this year.
So you move Harvey. You can keep one of those guys, maybe keep Finnegan if you want. You got Cade Cavalli on the way, who could also be a guy that slots into that rotation. So you got Gore. Parker's been awesome.
Yes.
Jake Irvin's been awesome. Then DJ Hers, I think, is a reliever, so you can plug him into the bullpen, but it's been nice to see him survive as a starter. Then you have Cavalli sliding into that rotation as well.
Yeah, clearing up some contract things that I misspoke on. Finnegan and Harvey both have another year of control. So they both enter ARB3 in 25. So, like, if you want to hold on to them, that's great. I think they're both very valuable, and relievers just trade them,
Yeah.
just move them. And, like, I think they can do that and get guys back that can kind of add to the fold. And you want to find an upper minors arm to help you out that adds to the stable. And you can always just kind of like, create relievers. Like, hey, say Cavalli doesn't bounce back, he can turn into a reliever. Like, you've got options. You mentioned Hers possibly going to the bullpen, that kind of thing. The other one, Corbin, 140 he signed for. He was probably worth like about 100, but he was coming off of back-to-back seasons where he threw 200 innings and had an ERA around 3.2. So it was 200 at a 3.15 and then 200 at a 3.25. So like, you can't knock him for that.
Yeah, they try. Like I'm never gonna shit on a team too much for spending. Especially a team like the Nationals, which is kind of like in between here. But no, I really like where they're headed, and I think this is proof of if they do spend here starting this offseason. I'm not saying they have to go crazy, but if they do start to just try to invest in this team, um, a big reason why they'll be able to is the fact that a lot of their key positions are manned by guys on the minimum or pre-arb guys or arb1 guys, which is absolutely huge. So they will have some flexibility, I think, here to spend, and I wonder if they do.
Yep. All right, we are going to get to the futures game rosters, which is very exciting, and we'll kind of run through position group by position group. But before that, quick break. I lied. One more thing before the futures game. Christian Scott back with New York. Kodai Senga close to being back with New York. You've got the details. What's up with that?
So Scott is back. I guess they were managing those innings in AAA, low impact there, whatever. We've seen teams start to do that more and more. I get it. I guess. But he was still throwing 4 innings every time out there for the most part and threw 80 pitches last time he was in AAA to build him back up. But when Scott was out there, I mean, it was light work for him. 2.12 ERA in 17 innings. So he joins this Mets rotation again, and then Senga is set to begin a rehab assignment, according to Will Salmon of The Athletic. I don't know exactly when, but the goal is around 40 pitches. That's huge, given that it was a shoulder thing. I wasn't even sure if he was going to pitch this year. Like it was so quiet. We didn't know. I, I was not sure. So you had Senga back at some point, maybe after the All-Star break, and you have Christian Scott back in the fold right now. I think this is the Mets kind of saying, all right, we know we called this a bridge year, but like, we might give this thing the old college try. And I'm glad they are. Like when Peter and I were trying to power rank like the NL West the National League wild card hopefuls, it was
Yeah.
hard to peg the Mets because we didn't know how they're going to go about it. But adding Scott and then having Senga back, like pitching has been the big problem. They can hit. Having those two guys in the rotation, I mean, that helps a lot. They could hover around and they could, they could keep themselves in this thing late.
I would have a tough time computing how to power rank wild card hopefuls
It
because
was
like
tough.
yeah, like that's very tough because it's like okay, you're power ranking without what the Phillies, the Dodgers. Like, did you include the Braves in the power rankings? Like, they would be one,
Nope.
right?
Nope. Only the last wild card team and then all the others.
Wow. Okay, yeah, that would be really tough. So I
It
assume the
was tough.
Rockies were number one.
Well, we eliminated the Rockies and the
And the
Marlins
Marlins.
naturally,
Damn.
just for time purposes. So it makes the Mets a little bit more interesting.
It
I know they've slowed down a tad of late, but the Astros have been playing good ball, and I think that was a big part of it. Uh, I I think it's good, right? It's always good to have your best foot forward in Major League Baseball. So I'm here for that.
Yeah, trying to compete is certainly a good thing. And I'm
I
excited to see
support that.
Christian Scott back up and like actually join this positive vibes Met team because he was like, it almost felt like he was the last ditch effort for the Mets to like salvage the season. Remember, it was called rock bottom for the Mets twice in the first like month and a half of the season. And now you got Jose Iglesias on the field saying, oh my God. And like,
And
we're
now the vibes are the best. The Mets are. It's the fans that lean into it too, and we talked about it in the booth. It's like, how do you go from rock bottom twice to your bench player performing his hit single on the field as you're so happy about how you're performing? But Scott in his 5 big league starts, 3.9 ERA. The peripherals were even better than that. So this is definitely a guy that deserves to be there, and I'm excited to see him keep building.
big time. All right, let's jump to the futures game rosters here. Futures game rosters were announced on Tuesday morning, 10 a.m. on MLB Central. And I like how they go about that, where it's like they actually make it a marquee thing because it allows them to kind of showcase, the top prospects in baseball. And like, yeah, you've got some guys that are littered within like, the top 20 in the game. Like Samuel Basayo is playing in the futures game, but you also have guys like Winston Santos, who has had a breakout out of absolutely nowhere, and we'll get to see him throw at Globe Life. And I know you're excited. I'm super excited to be at the Futures game. This is year 3 in a row for you going, or 3 out of 4 for you going.
3 out of 4.
3 out of 4 because you went to Denver, didn't go to LA,
Yeah.
and then now Seattle and Arlington.
Yeah.
This will be number 2 for me. This will be Seattle and Arlington for me, and like that's so fun for us, man.
The blast. The
It's
absolute blast.
it's a great time. So we're gonna run through these rosters here, and we're gonna go position group by position group, and we'll start with the National League team. I mean, we're gonna see maybe the best assortment of like prospect arms that we could possibly get in the
I was
National.
gonna say if there was betting odds on this, the under would be the absolute move here. I do believe that it's good. Runs are gonna come at a premium here.
Dude, this is insane. So, like, again, we're going to start with the National League here. The American League is good too, but it doesn't hold a candle to the National League pitching staff. Bubba Chandler for the Pirates, Chase Dolander for the Rockies, Tink Hence for the Cardinals, Quinn Matthews for the Cardinals, who I think is the minor league strikeout leader right now, Stanford guy that threw that 156 pitch complete game, Rhett Lauder for the Reds, Noble Meyer and Thomas White for the Marlins, Robbie Snelling for the Padres, Brandon Sproat for the Mets. I'm going to kind of walk through that name by name, and you are going to kind of give me the elevator pitch on each guy and where they're at. Okay.
Yeah, is that what we did last year? Was like 2 sentences on each, like
I think
why
so.
they should be excited, why people should be excited to see him.
I think so. You want to
Yeah,
do that again?
yeah, yeah.
Let's do
Let's do
that.
that.
Bubba Chandler with the Pirates. What you got?
One of the best fastballs in the minor leagues. Period. Just explodes and super athletic on the mound. I think people are gonna get excited just watching how he can blow fastballs by guys.
He was hilariously fun to watch during the spring breakout when he worked a 1 inning spurt. So, like him working a 1 inning spurt again is going to be awesome
You
again.
can hear the ball like spinning and cutting
Whizzing.
through the air,
Yeah,
like
like
whistling.
it's
Great.
great. It buzzes. Chase Dolander with the Rockies.
Similar with the fastball, but just crazy stuff. I think you're just gonna enjoy the combination of stuff from Dolander. It's the fastball, the slider is gross, the changeups come a long way. It's an assortment of really good stuff.
How about Tink Hence with St. Louis? He's had like he's finally been unleashed, and we're seeing a good Tink Hence this year.
He's been awesome. It's been one of those things where I think they're kind of managing the innings again now in the middle of the year, but they've let him loose by going 90 plus pitches, which is great, and he's been able to handle that. We've seen him strike out 13 as recently as a month ago. Uh, I think one of the more athletic pitchers you're going to see,
Yeah.
and unique release, and then watching just a guy that looks that small generate that much force is fun. And another dude that's got an assortment of pitches that all of them are fun to see.
Second straight futures game for 10 counts. First one for Quinn Matthews, because of course it is.
Yeah, I mean, this guy saw his fastball jump like 4 ticks
Yeah.
after leaving Stanford. Really locked in on weight program and yeah, just adding strength and tapping into more velocity. And he's been, I think the biggest surprise in minor league baseball this year, considering that the middle round pick, literally they let him throw a trillion pitches in college because they figured professional baseball, like he's gonna get a shot, but it's not that he's not a top prospect. It's not as big of a deal. He's sitting 95 now after sitting in the low 90s with his fastball previously. Slider is really good. Changeup is really good. Mixes in a curveball. This is just a good pitcher that you probably won't be able to completely appreciate in a 1 inning spurt.
Yeah.
But I think people will just be shocked to see, oh, that guy from Stanford's throwing 96 now.
Yeah.
Like, and it's got life to it too. This is a different pitcher from the Stanford version you saw completely.
Surprise of the year. It's between him and Zebby Matthews in the Twins organization.
Mm-hmm.
And Zebby's not throwing in the futures game, but like those are the two that jump out to me where it's like, huh, like a guy that is a strike thrower all of a sudden. Like Zebby hit 99, but Matthews is throwing what? Matthews hit 97, 98?
Yeah, 98. I think he's grabbed.
Damn. Rhett Lauder with Cincinnati. I know it was kind of rough first couple of starts in Double A, but he settled in.
Yeah, another guy that you can't totally appreciate in a 1 inning spurt,
Yeah.
but you can just appreciate that it's Rhett Lauder and he's one of the best pitching prospects in the game and has been better of late, as you said. I think if there's one thing to look for with him, it's a changeup. It's just such a good pitch. The slider too, he'll get some ugly swings.
How about the Marlins? Noble Meyer and Thomas White.
Thomas White, I think, is one of the more exciting lefties in minor league baseball. He can overpower you with the heater, and he's got a breaking ball that I think works off of that really well. So White's just a fun arm to watch. Noble Myers is a unique release. So like I think people will just enjoy watching that slider specifically. It's a plus slider. Absolutely just falls off the table. A crazy amount of horizontal. So I think that'll be the pitch that people are most excited about, both teenage arms too.
Yeah. Robbie Snelling has been underwhelming this year in Double A, but he gets the nod to the futures game. I feel like, much like Lauder, this is a tough guy to appreciate over 1 inning.
100%. But he's an athlete. He's a competitor. He's just fun to watch do his thing. But this is a guy that you can appreciate more in 5-6 innings. I'm interested to see if the velo ticks up because he's been down a tick this year, maybe in a 1 inning spurt. See what he's got in there. Because I hope there's a little bit more.
Is Brandon Sproat of the Mets this year's Mizorowski?
Yes,
Where
I was going
everybody
to say that
watches?
verbatim.
Yeah.
I was going to say last year it was this is the guy that goes viral and everyone's going to talk about more and more and more. Sproat will go viral. Pitching Ninja's going to put up his 102-mile-an-hour fastball and then the wicked like screwball looking changeup off of that, and everybody is going to be buzzing about Brandon Sproat. I can promise you that one.
I love it. All right, let's jump to the catching trio here in the futures game for the National League. Drake Baldwin with the Braves, Tyrone Lorenzo with the Dodgers, and Ethan Salas with the Padres. Note, Moises Ballesteros was an inactive selection. I don't really know what that means. He might play, he might not play. Inactive makes me think like he's not going to play, but he's invited. I'm not sure. But that foursome of Baldwin, Lorenzo, Salas, Ballesteros. Lorenzo is what? Did he get the bump to double yet, or is he still in high A?
I think he's still in high A.
Still in high A. Salas struggling in high A, but obviously Ethan Salas is Ethan Salas. Ballesteros, I hope he's active because like it would be fun to kind of watch that cat swing again.
Guaranteed hit. Like I guarantee a hit if Ballesteros gets a crack. He just makes it look so natural. That is one of the better just pure hitters I think in the upper minors for sure. Baldwin, another one of those like Braves, where'd they find this guy type of hitters. I know he's not producing like crazy, but the underlying stuff looks really good. Hits the ball very hard. So naturally, because no one's really heard of him, he'll probably win the MVP of the game. Remember, it was Naz Nunez last game. And Tyrone Lorenzo, like you have a chance to see a moonshot if he's up there. Like he's not even 21 yet. He'll be 21 in a few days. But this guy puts up some of the best EVs of anyone you're going to see in this game. And even at a young age, switch hitter, just massive power if he connects with one.
Yeah. National League infielders, Kim Collier with the Reds, Davison De Los Santos, who has been the best hitter in minor league baseball so far this year with the Diamondbacks. Davison, again, that Major League Rule 5 pick by the Guardians, and was like, are they going to actually put this young 21-year-old on the big league roster when like he's clearly going to get blown up? He got blown up in spring training, but he's been balling in AA and AAA with Arizona. Bryce Eldridge with the Giants, Tamar Johnson with the Pirates, Aiden Miller with the Phillies, Gerald Perez with the Dodgers. Gerald Harrell, what are we going with?
I'm gonna go with Harrell.
Harrell. That just feels right. Cooper Pratt with the Brewers, Matt Shaw with the Cubs. Let's start with Collier and Davison. We'll kind of go two at a time. Collier and Davison, what do you got on those two?
Collier's another guy. If he connects, it'll
Long way.
go. It'll go. And one of the younger guys. I think the youngest obviously being Ethan Salas, who I'm excited just because he's got to be the youngest guy in the game. Ethan Salas, by the way, like just turned 18. He's got to be the youngest guy in a long time to play in the game, but he's also in the midst of an 0 for 22 in high A right now. So just just whole weird scenario that I'll spend a lot of time talking about later. Just, congrats, you pushed him. Really, really cool. Really, it's so cool that the 18-year-old's in high A. Glad you did that. Back on topic, Collier, if he connects, cranked.
Yeah.
That's another one, and just a really aesthetically pleasing swing. And then somehow Davison De Los Santos, it's even more cranked if he connects.
Right.
This guy will not slow down. Super aggressive, but one of those where like you might watch him, and if he has a good game, you're like, that's the best player of all time.
Yeah.
The reality is very aggressive. He's limited to first. Who cares? We're here to watch some fun. Davison is the perfect player for these types of games because he's not going to get cheated. He ain't going to go down looking, and he's going to make sure he gets his swings off. So that's going to be fun.
Speaking of cranked, Bryce Eldridge with the Giants. When I watch him swing, I know it's not as like long per se as Matt Olson, but I get Matt Olson vibes from watching Bryce Eldridge swing.
That's valid. I like that. I mean, there's definitely some similarities there, and they're both gargantuan humans. Eldridge somehow larger at 6'7". Another 6'7" guy. They
Yep.
just promoted him to high A. They scrapped the two-way thing. So unless we go to extra innings, please, can they actually play more than 7 innings in this game one of these days? I would love for them to do that, but I don't think we'll see him on the mound ever again. But this is 19 years old that you just don't see this kind of power and frame. And that's the theme with, I think, this group here. Plus EVs. I mean, we've seen him hit balls. I mean, way out of here. I know in spring training he hit one like 450 off of Imanaga on the backfields and like really started to turn heads. It's all about the contact, but again, don't really care about that. And when he's only getting 2 ABs, he's going to get his swings off.
Yeah. Tamar Johnson also gonna get his swings off. It's crazy the power that we're running into here. Tamar started so slowly in Greensboro. He's really ticked up the last bit. And like by really ticked up, I'm not saying like, oh, he turned a 650 OPS into an 800, but like he's getting there. And he could absolutely kind of finish strong through, the second half of the season, and we could be talking about a good year in high A and a promotion to double late for Tamar Johnson.
He might just draw 2 walks and call it a day, though. Like
Yeah.
that's what he does. I mean, but if you want to see great knowledge of the strike zone, Tamar Johnson will give you that. But when he connects to, it's one of the prettier swings. He's trying to manage the swing and miss this year, and he's done a great job of that. He's cut the strikeout rate to 22%, but the power is way down. So he's trying to bridge that gap. He just turned 20. There's still so much to like about him, and I think he's just so notable given where he was drafted, the excitement pre-drafts, that anytime I get an opportunity to see this guy go play, he plays hard. I love the way he goes about his business. It's better that he's in this game, even if he's not one of the best performers.
Yeah, I'm with you. Next to Aiden Miller and Gerald Perez. Aiden Miller with the Phillies, Gerald Perez with the Dodgers. Miller has been like one of the bright spots of, that first round of the draft last year. And that first round of the draft last year is looking like could be a possible all-timer.
Oh man, I mean, Miller looks like a steal already. He's getting acclimated to high A. It's been an adjustment for him there, but pulverized low A, crazy bat speed, really well-rounded hitter, uses the whole field. It's just a good player that I think maybe doesn't get as much attention because He's been at the lower levels with the Phillies, but this is a guy that I think has been as impressive as any of the prepsters from that draft class.
Harold Perez. He was, you know what he was? We were checking in on DePaula in Rancho, but it's like, who's this Jay Perez guy? He's balling.
I feel like certain teams almost use this as an audition for trade pieces. And I feel like that's why Herrera Perez is here. And that's not an indictment on Perez. It's because I think a lot of teams will love what they see from him. Of course, they're not basing their scouting on a single game here, but I can promise you if Herrera Perez crushes one down the line to left field as a middle infielder at 19 years old, which he can do. He's got big power. I think this is a guy that's starting to make a top 100 case here. Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to be like, whoa, let's pay more attention to this guy. I was surprised to see Josue DePaulo left off this, but
Mhm.
I also understand that there's a lot more at hand sometimes with these things, and Perez very much deserves it. Walks at a high clip. Again, really good power for a younger, smaller framed infielder, and just one of those players that probably also slips under the radar because the Dodger system is so good. So I
Yep.
do appreciate him getting some shine when usually all you're hearing about is the DePaulos of the world and those types. Perez has deserved this and has been awesome this year.
Cooper Pratt and Matt Shaw, the last two infielders, and the neighbors, Cooper Pratt of the Brewers, Matt Shaw of the Cubs. Pratt first, then Shaw. Pratt was what, last year? Early round pick last year or the year before?
Last year they grabbed him in the fourth, I believe. It was one of those later rounds, but I think it was top 5 rounds for sure.
They had a spray the board draft where it was like Wilkin, Bovey, Pratt, like they got after it.
They got after it and they were creative with their bonus pool, and it looks like the early results are strong. Big priority in their savings was getting Cooper Pratt, one of the more intriguing late kind of pop up prep prospects in that class. That's a lot of P's. Alliteration right there.
Yeah.
He has been great. 19 years old, kind of everything that you would have wanted. He's 6'4" and pretty long, but still so quick to the ball, not even 20 yet. This is a player that I think you appreciate more when you get to watch him play over a week. But the fact that he's already in low A and performing the way that he has, hitting over 300, it's just a really sound offensive profile that I'm excited just to see more of him and see him move in the field. He's big and he's playing shortstop, and there's a lot of people that think he can stick there. So I'm excited to see him go about his business out there too. And then Matt Shaw, we love him here, right? And he's shaking off a slow start, the Cubs prospect, because everybody started slow in the Southern League offensively. He has been much better of late. We talked about him, as maybe a guy that could have been fast tracked. Are the Cubs looking at him at third base? Looks like he needed a little bit more time to develop than that. But Shaw, it's a great combination of hit and power, especially to the pull side, but he can use the whole field well. And over his last 30 games, he's got an OPS over 900. So Shaw, much deserved to be here and is still one of the best prospects in baseball. Easy top 50 guy for us at Just Baseball.
This National League outfield is utterly insane. And I'm sure that Wood is not going to play in this. James Wood is on the roster in the Futures game in the outfield. But the other four outfielders, Owen Casey with the Cubs, Dylan Cruz with the Nats, Justin Crawford with the Phillies, Drew Jones with the Diamondbacks. Casey and Cruz, AAA mashers, and Cruz just got up to AAA, and it's been weird because he was not walking at all in his first handful of games in AAA. He kind of got back into the walk rhythm in AA. Offensively, you've seen some holes. Defensively, I told you this guy is a master of center
Yeah.
fielding. And
Oh,
Trey Morgan validated that, which was really important to me.
yes, Trey Morgan did. And check out that episode of the call up. That was a lot of fun. And also, another episode of the call up that we had within the last couple of weeks was Owen Casey.
Yeah.
One of my favorite hitters. You know that if you listen to the show. Even if you don't listen to the call up, you probably know how much I like Owen Casey, just off of how much we talk about him on here. I think will be a big corner guy for them, maybe as soon as the back half of the back end of this year, depending on their direction, especially if they sell, but definitely going to be a big part of what they're doing next year. Casey's got some of the best power in the minor leagues, period. When we were looking at 90th percentile EVs last year, he was up there with Junior Caminero, and the two of them were kind of in their own bucket at the minor league level. He's been very good as one of the youngest players in AAA this year as well. You go to Cruz too. Like,
Yeah.
yes, he has not been the most impressive performer. He has been pushed quickly. He has been playing much better after shaking off a slow start swing and miss wise. But he's still in Cruz, man. Like that's a lot. Whether you're tapped into prospects or not, like if you take a census, Dylan Cruz is going to be one of the most well-known names in that game. I'm glad he's there, and it's not like it's a crazy reach for him to be there. He's already in AAA. He can do a lot of things really well, and I'm pumped to just get another live look at him. I there's something about him, even when he's not playing great, he just has this kind of it factor. I know you can speak to that. You're seeing that right now when they played ND in the outfield. That it feels like he's always playing better than he is. I think people will see that even when he's not playing well. He's just got this swagger to him, this moxie, and I think people will appreciate that.
I think you put it better than I could. Like he's Dylan Cruz. Like, you know that. And the reality is like he's not a second gen player. We're gonna get to a couple of second gen players. Like he did that based on merit. Like this game is a meritocracy, and Dylan Cruz has reached AAA not because of his name, but because of what he did when he was 18 at LSU, and what he did when he was 19, and what he did when he was 20, and what he did in AA this year. Like I mean, I know that he's not Wyatt Langford, who's already accrued 3 months of major league service, but at the end of the day, man, like it's fucking Dylan Cruz, and he's a year removed from the draft. He's in AAA, and he's knocking on the door of the big leagues. And if I were, to bet on him debuting this year versus not, I'm putting all the chips in on him debuting this year, which is
Absolutely.
still crazy.
Absolutely. And the floor is just so freaking high.
So high.
And this is a marathon, right?
Yeah.
This in 5 years, Cruz could be better than Langford. Who knows? I'd bet on Langford based on the tools and what we've seen, but
Okay.
would you be shocked if it all clicks for Cruz and he's better? Like, no. So it's always fun to watch players with that kind of upside and still the floor as well. Quickly on a couple of the other outfielders, credit to Drew Jones. I still cannot understand how that swing works at all in a professional setting, but he has been so much better of late. I still don't get it offensively. Like I would love to see an adjustment there. But talk about great defense. This guy could go out there and maybe make one of the better plays you'll ever see in this game. I hope they give him some opportunity out there in center because he can go get it with the best of them, just like his dad. So that's what's really fun about Drew Jones. I I don't expect him to be very comfortable in the box here in this game. I think it's going to be tough. He's barely pulled any balls so far this year, but he's been surviving offensively, which is nice. And again, he can be an absolute wizard out there. And then Justin Crawford, he hits the ball so hard. We were impressed with just the way he went about his business last year. He just needs to elevate. Please hit the ball in the air. But another guy that absolutely motors and can be fun to watch as well. And Carl Crawford's son, so we feel old.
Yes, big time. National League roster is much better than the American League roster, but we are going to run through the American League roster here before wrapping. Before that, one more quick break. All right, American League Futures Game roster. The pitchers, again, I'm taking the National League side, but AJ Bluebaugh of the Astros, who has been a breakout, Caden Dana of the Angels, Ben Kudrna of the Royals, Luis Morales of the Oakland A's, Fernando Perez of the Blue Jays, Winston Santos, your guy with the Texas Rangers, Noah Schultz, legit White Sox, Brock Selvage of the Yankees, and Emiliano Teodo of the Rangers. Let's start with the two Rangers. Elevator pitch on Winston Santos and Emiliano Teodo.
Santos has been a breakout guy this year and good characteristics on the fastball. It's ticked up multiple spots and just good stuff overall. Kind of wiry and just gets on you quick. So just a fun electric arm there that has been a nice story. But if we're talking electric, Teodo's on another level here. This guy touches triple digits. Another one that I think people are going to be like, wait, where do these guys come from?
Yeah.
Not a big prize international free agent. Really caught my eye in the Arizona Fall League, and things have clicked for him. We talked about on the call up, just really clicked for him as one of the best performers in June. Heavy sinker at 100, but then he'll also buzz up a fastball higher than that. I'm very intrigued to see what a one inning spurt looks like since he's been stretched out more, and a wicked slider.
Cool. AJ Bluebaugh with the Astros.
That might be a concession break.
Okay.
Now he's good. They're all good, but there's a certain players where it's just okay. We're
So
going to watch 94, 93, 94. Like Blue is good because he's got a fastball, a cutter, a change, a slider, a curveball. He
cool.
kitchen sinks you and he mixes it up. I'm not at the futures game to watch someone kitchen sink for an inning. So again, I don't want to sound bad about him. Like he's a good arm, and I think he's going to actually throw some innings for the Astros this year. But not a futures game darling, I would say.
So I think my concession break is Fernando Perez with the Blue Jays. I don't know who this is. This is very Yasver Zulueta 2.0 on the on the surface level. Um, is is there anything on Fernando Perez?
Hey, just having a good year.
Okay.
Like 20-year-old righty.
All
Uh,
right.
good fast, really good fastball characteristics. So if you want to see some good IVB at
Oh, nice.
93, maybe you should hold off
We
from
can
getting
count
those
the
tendies.
inches. Yeah, we can count the inches of induced vertical break. Caden Dana did lead all minor league pitchers in strikeouts in the month of June. Dana is not a breakout because he had prospect intrigue coming into this year, and in a very, very thin system, he's at the tippy top of that Angels farm.
Fastball slider combination here. And I think he could tick up to 97 in a 1 inning spurt. Sliders gross, very athletic, 6'4". He's a satisfying pitcher to watch. I think people will enjoy Dana.
Ben Kuderna with the Royals. I know you liked this guy out of the draft, and Kuderna is a guy that has kind of continued that progression through the minor leagues to this point.
Coming off his best start of his professional career, as just ahead of recording this, 6 innings, 3 runs, no hits, no walks, 9 Ks.
Wow.
It's just well-rounded pitchability here, but the changeup is what you'll see. This will be one of the better changeups you'll see in the game. The fastball is 93, 94, but gross changeup, good slider. I think he's going to show the change off a little bit.
Luis Morales is one of the better pitching prospects in the A's organization, and
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, the fastball takes off.
Oh yeah, oh
Okay.
yeah, it does. It doesn't have the shape that I think you desire, but we're here to see velo. We're joking about the IVB side of things. I'm sure people out there will appreciate that. But he's up to 99. He's averaging 97 with the fastball. He's another guy that I think in a 1 inning spurt could get you triple digits.
Brock Selvage with the Yankees, tall drink of water, and the lefty is I know someone that a lot of Yankees fans are telling me is untouchable at
Oh,
the deadline. Like whenever we throw out like, oh, they could go get Mason Miller. Oh, we can't let go of Selvage. He's awesome.
he's untouchable. Yeah, I saw DePaula is untouchable from some Dodger fans in like a Luis Robert or Crochet deal. Like, okay, all right, okay.
Yeah, you're kind
Uh,
of screwed then if this guy's untouchable.
Salvage is fun. He's I would say he's not he's not untouchable, but he's been pretty solid this year. I would say a little bit inconsistent, but some fun characteristics, funky release and just a fun arm to watch too.
Noah Schultz is the last
Oh,
arm on this futures game roster for the American League. Job is the top pitching prospect in baseball now, following Skeens' graduation. Schultz, I think, has very clearly entered the chat with Cade Horton and Painter until Painter comes off the shelf. And listen, Horton's missed a month. He'll miss another week or two. Is Noah Schultz the second best pitching prospect in baseball?
yeah, I think he's got the temporary belt right now
Gotcha.
until Painter comes back. Nobody that is 6'9" should throw strikes as consistently as Noah Schultz does. And then from that 6'9" low left-handed, low three-quarters left-handed release point, a slider this is probably the best slider in the game, period, I'd
Yeah.
imagine. And he lands it for a strike at a 71% clip. People are gonna really fall in love with Noah Schultz if they haven't seen him throw yet. 20 years old too. Fastballs in the mid 90s. It's a really impressive arsenal and a really impressive ability to pitch already.
This catching trio is unbelievable for the AL Futures game roster. Samuel Basallo of the Orioles, Harry Ford of the Mariners, Kyle Teel of the Red Sox. This needs to be a 9 inning game because I want to see all three of them catch 3 innings.
I agree with that. Especially Basayo, because if someone tries to run on him, I think it's the strongest arm in the minor leagues, period. I think it's an 80 arm. I No one's there to watch him receive, but that's a work in progress. Harry
Uh,
Ford,
you might be there to watch him receive.
I'm gonna be watching that for sure. Uh, Harry Ford, he was in the game last year. It's just fun, athletic. When you can motor that way too, he's always a blast to watch on the field. And then Kyle Teel has turned into one of the best catching prospects in baseball. Makes so much contact, sneaky athlete. I mean, position wise, prospect ranking wise, also, Basayo can hit tape measure shots. This guy already hit a home run 115 miles an hour this year for his 20th birthday. Like that's nuts. So you have that aspect of it too. But these are three top 50 prospects here, and Basayo is a top 15 prospect, and Teal's a top 30. So this is a really loaded spot.
Two at a time through the American League infield. Xavier Isaac with the Rays, Hao Yu Lee with the Tigers. Lee had an awesome June. Isaac has had an awesome 2024.
Isaac's one of my favorite power bats in the minors. I mean, he's a guy that he could go backside and hit a ball that gets out in half a second. You're like, what in the world was that? Or he'll go pull side and put it 450 feet. And you're also like, what the hell is that? He can leave foul pole to foul pole. And it's one of the better, just pure power bats in the lower minors. And the Rays have a really good one there. That's why, even though he's a first baseman, top 30 prospect for us, Hao Yuli's been one of the hottest hitters in the entire minor leagues for the Tigers. In that Lorenzen deal, powers really shine through. He's healthy. He's only 5'9", 5'10",
Mhm.
but he really packs a punch. So he's just a well-rounded hitter too.
I think everybody already knows about Brooks Lee, who was hurt first month of the year, and then Brooks Lee has been really solid since he's come back, and he looks good in AAA. I don't know if the Twins are going to need him this year, but if they do, I think he's ready, and he'll tell them that he's ready.
He's got to tell them first.
Yeah,
He's been swinging it well. He's had the power stroke all of a sudden.
yeah.
Lee's one of the guys you really appreciate him more over the course of a week, though he might do something where someone throws 101 like up and out, and he gets to it and shoots it the other way, and you're like, whoa. How does he have that kind of bat to ball? So that's what makes Lee really stand out. He could put a very unique swing on a ball, and you're like, how'd he get there?
No Carson Williams in this game, so I think we're on WebGem alert with Marcelo Meyer at short, the Red Sox prospect.
Silky smooth there. Not as capable of making the off the charts highlight reel play that Carson Williams can make, but Meyer can make some really nice plays out there at short. I agree. That's what we're looking for there. But he's got a sweet swing from the left side, and he's been swinging it really well, over 300 this year. It's a well rounded player, but yeah, I think the glove is. I'm hoping he gets an opportunity to flash that leather at short.
How much you want to bet Colson Montgomery starts at third base in the futures game?
Yeah, Tim or Walcott, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd imagine he probably gets the look there. Another guy that, yeah, when he connects, it's big time power, but he's more of a well-rounded hitter. Right? He likes to make more consistent contact, but maybe in a game like this, he'll cheat swing it, and when he does that, he can surprise you with some mammoth pop.
Colson Montgomery, the White Sox. Ralphie Velasquez of the Guardians is the guy that I think you turn on the game and it's like, wait, hold on. This guy's how old?
Very, very advanced for a 19-year-old first baseman that was drafted out of high school here. This is one of the more impressive guys we've seen too. I think he's cut from the Xavier Isaac cloth. That I think he can be on a similar trajectory there. Top 100 guy for us. That when you look at the age to impact already, 6'3", 215. That's not bad. I'm going to make sure I don't miss, because he blends the feel to hit with the power really well, and is a candidate I think to get one in this game.
Rinse and repeat. Sebastian
Yep.
Walcott is one of the guys that you're going to turn this on and say, wait, this guy's how old?
Yep. And power, power, power. I think he can be a superstar. The numbers are not totally there because he's 18 in high A. He has already hit balls 117 miles an hour this year. He is 6'4". He is so adjustable in the box for how powerful he is. This could be a guy that if you're at the game 5-6 years from now, you'll be like, oh, I remember the first time I saw Sebastian Walcott. He's got to hit enough, and I think he can, especially with the adjustability there. He could be the one that ends up hitting a ball that turns everybody's head more than anybody else in this game. I really do believe that.
Yeah. Cole Young, the last one, Mariners prospect, best enjoyed over a full week. A lot like Brooks Lee, a lot like Colson Montgomery, but like, yeah, it'll be fun to watch him get a couple ABs.
Capable of getting to like a crazy pitch in a crazy spot. I've seen this guy like keep balls fair that would have hit him. So with everybody going high octane, I'm hoping he gets a chance to just put a really impressive swing on a ball.
Yeah. AL outfield, Jason Chorio of the Guardians. Why is he already better than his older brother, Jackson Chorio?
Not quite, but he is fun. 19, a lot of contact, can motor, just a toolsy player across the board and a really good approach.
Max Clark, he's starting to look a little bit more settled in low A, which is nice.
I want to see him cut one loose, 70 arm from the outfield. That'd be fun. But also, I'd love to see him get off to the races if he splits the gap. This is a 5-tool potential player here, and another guy that everyone knows the name, especially if you're younger and you're on TikTok. So I think a lot of people will be pumped to see Max Clark play, and understandably so.
Gavin Cross of the Royals is
It feels like an advertisement.
Yeah, I think Kansas City wanted to send two guys, and they were like, "Well, we've got Kuderna, and then
That guy
Frost."
that we took probably a little too early last time. Although that whole draft and at the top it looks a little brutal, anyways. But yeah, Cross has bounced back in a big way this year. He has looked a lot better, and of course they're gonna take the opportunity to sign their first round guy.
Right.
I
Uh,
think he's a step below just about everybody else here.
I think so. Spencer Jones of the Yankees started very slow. Again, that's a name that a lot of people know because he was the Yankees hot ticket guy, but he really came into his own in June, 900 OPS in June.
Yeah, it's just limiting the Ks. He struck out 36% in June as well. Don't care about that because we
Yeah.
want to see bombs. He's either going to crush one or he's going to strike out a couple times. But that's what we're there for. That's you probably rival Walcott as the guy that could probably hit the largest, longest tape measure shot homer if he connects.
Chandler freaking Simpson with Tampa Bay. He's hitting like 375 this year, and he's the fastest guy in minor league baseball. Is he the fastest guy in professional baseball?
Yeah, he's got to be. I
Gotta be.
think he's got to be. Maybe Ellie or somebody else that's just bigger with massive strides has him
Yes.
edged out. But I don't know. I think he is, especially from just the acceleration standpoint. He's grabbing some bags in this game. Stole 100 last year, basically. Like he's gonna do the same thing
Just
here.
pinch run him. Like he
Yeah,
should enter as a pinch runner and then, get a plate
and
appearance.
go. Yeah, we should get a multiple like guaranteed on base opportunity. I actually think that's a great idea. I bet they do that.
Yeah, I could see that. Like, hey, Chandler Simpson's into the game as a pinch runner, and it's like, what's going to happen. What was that guy's name?
Yes.
Herb Washington in the 70s. Like,
Yes.
remember the
Oakland.
A's signed him? Yeah.
Yeah. The
You
track
remember
runner.
the A's signed him, but like, yeah, the track runner. I remember reading the story and I was like, oh, that's really fascinating. But the track runner, not a professional plate appearance. Chandler Simpson does hit 375
Yeah.
though, and gets on base at a 420 clip. So like, he's fine. Last thing that I want to throw at you, that was the futures game rosters. I had a come to God moment and I realized that it's too late for Baltimore to pay Gunnar Henderson. What say you about that?
Yeah. It's too late. It's absolutely too late. Not that they would have been able to do it anyways with a Scott Boras client, but now it's actually a wrap because Scott Boras, we can do everything we've said about him. The one thing that I do think if I'm Gunnar Henderson and I'm looking at my numbers right now and I'm looking at what Bobby Witt just got, if Scott Boras tells me we can break records, I believe him.
Yeah.
And I know that Boras is probably over promised his clients of late, no doubt about it. This is different. None of his clients are Gunnar Henderson, really. Like,
Yeah.
and I can promise you, Boris will do right by Juan Soto in free agency too. That's his bread and butter there. He's going to be okay there, and I think a lot of people could probably succeed in that role. But also, Boris has gotten himself to that spot to be able to continue to negotiate those kind of deals. And I mean, Bobby Witt got his deal what after last year?
It would have been
Was it
same timeline. So it would have been after year two.
6 WAR last year? Bobby Witt's that was Bobby Witt's entire season. That's already where Gunner is at.
Yeah.
Uh, it ain't happening unless they want to escalate that thing J Rod style into a record breaking contract, which I just don't see the Orioles doing. Maybe the new ownership is willing to
Maybe.
do it. I don't see why Boris would do it unless it is escalating into this record breaking contract. But sometimes it's in the eye of the beholder, and sometimes these players don't care as much. Bobby Witt struck me more as a guy that just wants to play ball and like 400 million, like or whatever. Like that's enough money for me. I'm good. I'm not saying anything about Gunner the person, but like if you hire Scott Boras, it kind of tells me the way you want to go about it. You want to make sure you get every dollar that you deserve. That's totally fine. But I think at this point it's got to be a wrap. Like there's no way. There's no way.
I don't see a world. I think they could probably like look at Adley at this point because I think Adley's more attainable at this point than Gunnar Henderson is. As crazy as that is to say, but like, man, Gunnar. I'm just thinking about Baltimore, and I know that Baltimore's handed out a couple of big contracts. Like Chris Davis is the one that jumps to my mind. So the old ownership group was willing to do it, and I hope that David Rubenstein is willing to do it. Um, I would love to see Gunnar as an Oriole for life,
Mm-hmm.
but like that pre-arb extension is probably looking like escalators get him to $500
At
million. And
least
what team in their right mind would do that?
I think the only possibility here is, hey, you're young, you want some financial security, buy out like 2 years of control. he's going to hit free agency still so young
Yeah.
that he could still get that mega deal. Maybe that's something that they could broach, and that gives them, elongates the window. You extend Adley, you give Bob, or you give Gunnar a little bit more up front, and buy out those 2 years extra of control. You widen your window. That's maybe their best bet. I don't even know if Boris will be receptive to that. But I'm with you. I didn't. I don't know if we've really seen a player this young be this good through the first half of a season like this in his second year, across the board. There's almost no reason for him to take a deal like that. It just wouldn't make sense. He could hit free agency and legitimately have Otani type of fanfare if he's doing this every year until he hits free agency, which is very possible. I don't expect him to get worse.
Yeah. I just wanted to get my thoughts out there, man. Like on the Gunner thing, because I just like was laying in bed like this morning. I think I just got up and I was like, they can't do this. Like he's way too good. I just saw another classic tweet where it's like he's at 6.1 F4 and we're in, like it's July 1st. Like this season is unbelievable from a 23-year-old shortstop.
Even more reason to cash in on the prospects and try to win in these next couple years.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Anything else you got?
No, I'm excited for the skills competition thing. We'll give some predictions as that gets closer. I want to
Yeah.
call my shot on a couple of those. Like they're doing some futures game like skills types of competition, with like bat to ball and distance and things like that. We'll talk about that as it gets closer, but I want to just give some predictions on that front.
I love that. Like the high-speed pitching machine. It's like, hey, we're giving you like 90-mile-an-hour knuckleballs. Try and make contact.
That'd be fun. I think it's like modeled after some old video games. So some are like hit the location. So that's
Cool.
where like a Brooks Lee would be better. And then there's some that's like, total home runs. So I think it's like a mixture of things. So it should be really fun and a great idea to showcase these guys' talents.
Yeah, sign me up for that. All right, that's what we got today. Peter and I talking to you tomorrow. Arm's headed to London town. Go enjoy that, man. No
Thank you.
London series though. You missed the London series
I
by a
did
month. Did
miss
you know that?
it. No, I didn't know they were going to do the London series this year. My sister's out there going to see her. And I always, I would have planned it that way. I don't know if I missed it or did they change it? I don't know what happened, but that was a botch on my part. But I do get to see the Wimbledon, so nice little like couple day unplug and then dive headfirst into All Star Week deadline and the draft. But the quote unquote unplug will be continuing to get ready with the big board while I'm out there. So look out. Maybe next week we should have the final draft rankings for you as well.
Yeah, remember center court at Wimbledon is spelled R-E, not E-R at the end of center.
Okay,
Like
I'll make
centric
sure.
court. You go to the Theatre.
Centric. Roger Centric.
Roger Centre, centric court at Wimbledon. All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.